Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to All Points Sports. This is our NFL preview show. We're live at the Villa Roma Resort. Let's hear it for All Points Sports.
We got some people on the mez right here, Doc. We got a little bit of a crowd. This is a good turnout for an All Points Sports showing. Doc Holliday, Stephen J., and then we got Bobby Blackjack joining us. NFL preview. Doc, there's nothing better than when football season comes around. We have pretty much made it through the end of a pretty poor baseball season. We've survived that. And if you can survive watching the Yankees and Mets with nothing else on TV for 3 months, I think that you can just make it through about anything. But thank God it's football season. And not only is it football season, Doc, but we actually have contending football teams to talk about, which is even more rare.
That's right. The New York Jets with Aaron Rodgers, preseason coming up. We have some Aaron Rodgers fans here tonight. Giants, Daniel Jones living up to his $40 million contract. We got some Giants fans here as well. We got some Atlanta Falcons fans. We got 49ers fans. We're talking football tonight.
We're talking football. We're probably going to take some questions, too, from our live studio audience. It's going to be a real fun show. Doc Holliday, I guess we got to start with my team because I got the bettor's favorite right here with the New York Jets. We'll start with the Jets. The last thing we're going to talk about is Bobby's Steelers. All right, if I talk about the Steelers, you might as well just have me lay down in traffic. But anyway, so we got the Jets coming up first right now. Doc Holliday, pretty much night and day from last year and this year. The New York Jets going from maybe worst to first, a whole lot of turnover. Not only with the draft picks and different free agent signings, but the cream of the crop at the top. They got Aaron Rodgers. You said it couldn't be done, but now here he is. You have to finally see it. We get to see it in living color on Saturday. So, believe it before you can see it. But we got Aaron Rodgers as a New York Jet fan. The season, we won the offseason pretty much, right, Doc?
It took a while, and the loss of Mike White was huge. We were just devastated at the loss of Mike White going to Miami. But the pickup of Aaron Rodgers late, this was the big deal for the Jets and the NFL.
And we had Jet fans that didn't even think that Rodgers was going to be in the conversation. We were talking about maybe a Jimmy Garoppolo, maybe a Derek Carr. Maybe we even had to turn back to the draft. Anything to avoid the monstrosity that was Zach Wilson at quarterback. Zach Wilson last year couldn't play dead. And he couldn't go into the season as the Jets starting quarterback and have head coach Robert Saleh look with a straight face into the reporters that they're going to be a contender this year. So they did what they had to do. They went out and they made a pretty big trade for Aaron Rodgers. They gave up, they swapped ones. They gave them a one. They got a two back. A lot of Jets fans are saying that it might be a little too much in return. But, how many years have we had multiple first-round picks? How many times have we had – and nothing pans out, Doc. I don't care about draft picks. I don't care what you had to give up to get Aaron Rodgers. This is way more fun in the present than thinking about the future. So we got Aaron Rodgers as our quarterback. We get to see him on Saturday, hopefully.
That's right. And in Dallas, we'll see him on, I believe, the 17th.
Yep, we're going on the road to Dallas, Texas, in Jerryland. We're going to see Jets Giants or Jets Cowboys rather, and it's going to be a great time. No better place to watch football than probably at Jerry World. That's probably the place to go.
The Dome.
Oh yeah, in beautiful Texas. It might be under triple digits there in the temperatures. Maybe even September, right? That's a brisk temperature for them.
People flock to the stadium to beat the high heat.
Oh, yeah.
And I believe Aaron Rodgers will light them up in the preseason.
So we're talking Aaron Rodgers. He's the new starting quarterback of the Jets, Jets. Now, a lot of people, as soon as they got him, there have been two types of Aaron Rodgers fans. They're basically people that want to see Aaron Rodgers succeed, a.k.a. the Jet fans. And there's people that do not like Aaron Rodgers, which is pretty much every other fan. Even the Green Bay Packers have kind of sullied on him. So Aaron Rodgers, new starting quarterback of the Jets. A lot of people saying Super Bowl. Doc, is that too crazy to talk about before we even get to week one? Can we crown them a Super Bowl contender yet, or do they have to prove it on the field? Because the name on the front means a whole lot more than the name on the back.
I know, but I know that Jets rhymes with Mets, and we had so much hope for the Mets this year, and things went wrong. So we're just keeping our fingers crossed for the Jets.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Guys, we got some comments, right? We got David Burns watching from Cedar Hill, Texas.
All right.
Welcome, David.
Representing with the Texas.
Yeah, David.
It's all right. Well, I mean, hopefully he's not a Cowboy fan, or else we'll probably have to get him off the live stream. But as long as he's not a Cowboys fan, that's fine.
And from Chicago, we got Stephanie joining us. Welcome, Stephanie, to the show.
Stephanie.
All right, all the way from Chicago. So we're building a following, Doc. A lot of people think that this is just, a New York-based show. We got people all over.
That's right. And we're live right now.
And we have a sponsor.
Sponsored by Eddie Edge Remodeling, Franklin Square, Long Island, fully insured, fully licensed, home remodeling, new homes. Call Eddie Edge.
That's right. And going back to the New York Jets, Doc Holliday, I'm buying it. I'm going all in on my New York Jets. It's been a long time since we've seen the Jets succeed. Going back to basically the Rex Ryan days, 2009, 2010. These kids might not have even been alive the last time that the Jets made it to the AFC Championship game. Last time they were in the playoffs, no less. Out of all Big Four sports, who's the one team that has the longest playoff drought? Who would you put your money on?
The Jets?
The Jets, that's right. After the Cardinals made the playoffs, and even after, in basketball, even after the Sacramento Kings, after 22 years, the Sacramento Kings said the Jets now hold that title. And, just because they got Aaron Rodgers in the preseason doesn't mean that that playoff streak is already done. They got a whole lot of work to work out. And considering that they have the longest playoff winless streak, rather. They haven't made it to the playoffs in 12 years. This is a tall task for a team that has some high expectations right out of the gate.
So I say they make the playoffs only because they built a great team around Rodgers. They're going to try it this year. This is the year. I can't see Rodgers lasting 5 years in New York, but a few years at least. And I believe he's resurgence. He went into the dark on the off season, went into the silent room and the dark. And he looks like a new Aaron Rodgers.
It's funny that you say that, because this is an Aaron Rodgers that is definitely maybe a reborn Aaron Rodgers. He was kind of not old news, but they were really getting tired of him in Green Bay, especially after the 2020 draft, I believe it was, where they drafted Jordan Love. And that was kind of the beginning of the swan story for Aaron Rodgers, kind of the beginning of the exit. He was in that situation, X amount of years ago with Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers being drafted out of Cal, kind of paving the way. Even though Aaron Rodgers did sit 3 years behind Favre, Jordan Love sat 3 years behind Aaron Rodgers. Now, after 3 years, the Packers, they wanted to see what they had in that first-round pick in Jordan Love. After 2 MVP seasons, they had to hold on to Aaron Rodgers, and they basically got what they needed to ship him out of town. They didn't make the playoffs. They didn't have a winning record. It came down to that the Sunday night game, against the Lions, and it didn't pan out. So the fact that the Packers got what they wanted someone younger. They're going with the Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers treatment 2.0. So they're moving on to Jordan Love. And that's another thing that we got to talk about, Doc, because this is going to be a weird football season when it comes to starting quarterbacks. But going back to the Jets, it couldn't have worked out perfect for them, where Zach Wilson obviously had a down year. After year one, he was making some good strides. Obviously,
what will
the
happen to Zach Wilson?
Zach Wilson's going to be – now they're going to pitch Zach Wilson to be the backup, and that Aaron Rodgers is going to show him the ropes and basically kind of turn the tables and turn it over to Zach Wilson in 1, 2, 3 years maybe. But, Zach Wilson's story in the Jets uniform is done. I don't think that they'd ever start him over again, because they know what they have. And after 2 years under Aaron Rodgers, I don't think that you can go back to Zach Wilson and say with a straight face that this is a team that is still committed to winning. After what you saw from Zach Wilson last year, the Jets had a roster, probably one of the best non-QB rosters in the NFL. I think we can all agree on that. The defense was top 3. They had 2 Offensive Rookie of the Year candidates before Breece Hall got hurt. Garrett Wilson, the Offensive Rookie of the Year, Breece Hall. They rebuilt the offensive line. It was just they could not get the offense going under any circumstances. You had games where you had Chris Streveler, the QB4, coming in on a Thursday night in the rain against Jacksonville, who had more of a spark than Zach Wilson. They were playing, give me ball from the Flacco days to Mike White to Chris Streveler. All 3 of those played better and put up better numbers than Zach Wilson. Now, there was a stretch in the middle of the year where they went 6-3 going into the bye after they beat Buffalo, and that's when we thought, this is it. We're making the run. The Jets are back in this thing. We have our quarterback. Then after the bye, even Wilson, who missed the first 4 games, just something happened when they hit that bye where Zach Wilson just flipped the switch off. And he was still kind of dealing with an injury. But really, the name of the game was just turnovers. He could not stop turning the ball over. Poor accuracy, poor decision making, and I mean Zach Wilson played the worst quarterback position. And he probably couldn't even have been a third-string quarterback last year, and the Jets kept trying to pitch him it the entire year. So they have a ready-made lineup for Aaron Rodgers to come, and this is probably, I mean, look back a couple years with Tom Brady. I mean, going from Zach Wilson to Aaron Rodgers is probably the biggest jump in quarterback that you've seen in the NFL, maybe in NFL history from that talent level. So would there be a little bit of a shock to the Jets having gone from a season with Zach Wilson to Aaron Rodgers? That's a lot to take on. So with Zach Wilson out, Aaron Rodgers in, and this is going to be a very fun year. We even had some, talking about the Jets, even their defense last year, as we were talking about. Not just Aaron Rodgers, but the defense too, Bobby. It is an amazing defense, and they've only gotten better.
I'll give you that. Real quick, David Burns, who was on before, mentioned he's a big Chicago Bears and Cowboys fan.
It's a weird combo.
It's a weird combo. I admit. Real quick, let's talk about real quick David's comment. I think the Bears are an up-and-coming team. They made some awesome moves this offseason. I think Justin Fields is going to take that next step, a la Jalen Hurts did last year. Cowboys, Cowboys are Cowboys. You love them, you hate them. We'll see what happens. I'm not a Dak Prescott guy. Great story, great college quarterback. I'm not sure if he's any better than Tony Romo was, who really let him nowhere.
What if there are Cowboys fans? Any Cowboys fans here? Thumbs up, thumbs down. Your dad? Oh boy. You got a Cowboys fan in the audience? Oh boy. Can we ask some people in the audience to leave? And we have to get security to escort them out if they're Cowboys fans. Real quick on the Cowboys and the Bears. The Bears, I'm not sold on the head coach. In the NFL now, especially to get rapid improvement from a quarterback, you need an offensive head coach. Eberflus coming over from the Colts. We didn't even have a good defense before that. I mean, he's an adult in the room, but as far as offensively, it's kind of Justin Fields going out by himself. Still, it's a very thin roster with the Chicago Bears now. The division could possibly be, the number 2 for the taking. It's probably the Lions division to run through. It's definitely not going through the Packers or Jordan Love. I think the Vikings are probably one of the favorites in the NFC East to regret, or the NFC in total to regress. And then the Bears they had money to burn this offseason. They had $120 million, filled up a lot of gaps in that defense, but offensively they got DJ Moore, pulling off kind of a Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs type of treatment where you got to get him the number 1 wide receiver. And it's going to be a long year for Bears fans, I think. Not sold on the head coach, definitely not sold on the quarterback. Run first quarterbacks scare me, right?
Yeah, but he got DJ Moore now. He has a legit
Moore.
number 1 wide receiver.
He does. And offensively, around him, and even offensive line, is that enough, DJ Moore? Because let's face it, you just have one player on the offense. In the NFL, you need 2 wide receivers now. You need a 1A and a 1B. You need a Justin Jefferson and you need a Jordan Addison. You need Devontae Adams and you need
injuries dictate the season. If someone goes down, what if Aaron Rodgers goes down? What happens, Stephen J?
4 and 13.
Jets fans will be biting that bottle then, because that'll be a long year. Why are we talking about that? We're positive, Doc. We're not talking about Aaron Rodgers getting hurt. So wrap up on the Bears, not sold on them, and the Cowboys. The biggest thing for them is they lost their offensive coordinator.
And Cowboys, Sam Williams, who had a big game against Denver, goes down with a weapon and marijuana charge right here on the news. So Cowboys fans, you think things are looking good, you got a great defensive player, and he goes down.
No,
well, and the Cowboys defense, if you put a gun to my head right now, I can't tell you who Sam Williams is or what position he plays.
Now, don't say that they're going to put a gun to your head, because that guy may do it. But
and he's been in trouble before.
Good point.
But and then for the Cowboys are going to Cowboys. Next time that the Cowboys win a Super Bowl, Jerry's going to be 6 feet under. It's going to be a long time before they even sniff a world championship. And what's even worse is that Mike McCarthy's calling the offense. And if that's not an antiquated, dated offense, I don't know what is. So Cowboys fans are going to be in for. Now, it's going to be a competitive year. I think that they're definitely going to have some good wins, and they're going to have some bad losses.
I think
Cowboys now.
We're going to talk about the Giants, obviously, in a little while. I think the NFC East, once again, could be a 3 playoff team division this year. Real quick, David Burns, he agrees with you on. Let's go back to the Bears first. Yeah, he thinks they finally getting an offensive line will help Justin Fields, who needs a lot of help. So he agrees that you're there. And back to your Jets, like we mentioned, the whole thing about Aaron Rodgers being there 2-3 years and passing the torch over to Zach Wilson for 15 years. That's a bit much, but we'll see.
No, I mean,
Let's just go
what is
back.
he going to say? That Aaron Rodgers or that Zach Wilson has no talent and that basically his story's over? He's got to sell up Zach Wilson, and they're good friends too, Aaron Rodgers and Zach Wilson. But the Jets are going to try everything in their power to not get Zach Wilson on the field, because when Zach Wilson's on the field now, they lose games. And from a front office perspective and a head coaching perspective, you have a quarterback like Zach Wilson going out there, you could be needing to fill out a pink slip because your days could be numbered. And if you're not going to get rid of Zach Wilson, then different management will come in and get rid of Wilson. So more losses with Zach Wilson on the field just means that the head coach and the general manager are on the hot seat, and they don't want to do that, right? And that's the whole reason why they went Rodgers.
So let me ask you, Stephen J. The last time the Packers traded a quarterback to the New York Jets, he didn't last with the Jets that long. Who was that quarterback, Stephen J.?
That was a Mr. Brett Favre, and you are right, Doc Holly. Those were fun times in the beginning.
And where did he end up?
He had a good start, though.
They started 7-4, but I mean, Favre was injured. I think we all know that. Favre didn't want to admit it, but
Where
Brett
did he
Favre was
end
injured.
up,
That's why he
Stephen
retired
J?
at the end of the year.
Where did he end up, Brett Favre?
Ended on the Jets, and then he finished with the Vikings.
The Vikings.
And he had a
So-
good stretch with the Vikings. He
So
made it to
this
the
could
NFC
just
Championship
be
game.
another ploy to get the Green Bay quarterback back to the Vikings when Aaron Rodgers goes 7-4 with the Jets and then ends up in the Vikings. And this is like deja vu all over again, as Yogi would say.
And Rodgers going to the Jets. I mean, I think that Brett Favre deal, they weren't expecting anything longer than 1, maybe 2 years. I mean, this Aaron Rodgers deal. Aaron Rodgers looks great. He says he feels fine. He's been playing fantastic football. I think they were trying to squeeze the last bit of juices out of Brett Favre when they got him. But for Aaron Rodgers, I mean, this definitely isn't a one and done. It could be, a 2 or 3 year rental, just like Tom Brady. Tom Brady played 3 years, and if you can get the kind of results that Tom Brady did with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, you'd sign up for that any day. So the Jets with Aaron Rodgers, and this team is ready to take off, right? You have Garrett Wilson, who's already the offensive rookie of the year with 4 quarterbacks throwing him the ball. Especially if you're a fantasy owner, if you're a dynasty owner, you have Garrett Wilson. His stock is shooting through the roof. My one concern with Aaron Rodgers is the offensive line going to get him killed? And I think that's going to be a big question mark the entire year. Last year, they were talking about how the Jets' offensive line does not have any depth, how it's a Swiss cheese offensive line, and we learned that because Zach Wilson was hurt. We had Mike White that got injured. We even had Chris Trevler getting beat up behind the offensive line. They went back and they re-signed Connor McGovern, their center. Dwayne Brown is back healthy. They lost as soon as after that Denver Broncos game when Elijah Vera Tucker went down. That's when everything went down because that's when Breece Hall went down, and the whole season basically just nosedived. So the offensive line is going to be a big part. Can Mekhi Becton stay healthy? Elijah Vera Tucker coming back. He's a stud. He's going to be fine. You have 38-year-old Dwayne Brown at the left tackle. And overall, this is an offensive line that is going to make or break the season because if you cannot protect Aaron Rodgers, then you are not going to win this division. You're not going to make the playoffs. And a hurt Aaron Rodgers is not going to come back for another year after what he's been through at 40 years old and the money he has. If he knows that he has no chance in winning with this team and that his life is on the line, that's not going to happen. So we're talking Jets. I mean, in this division, Bobby, you have the Dolphins. The Dolphins made the playoffs last year, even with all the 2 injuries. And then you have the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo Bills fans, a special message to you. I loathe all of our Buffalo Bills fans watching right now. I think that they got a little sniff of relevancy. Now, they did take a step back after taking 2 good steps forward, but they were into a buzzsaw in the Bengals in the divisional round. But as Buffalo fans have to take a look at themselves in the mirror and kind of take a step back. They haven't won anything. They haven't even been to a Super Bowl, nonetheless, losing to heartbreaking style in the AFC Championship game. So you have the Patriots and Bill Belichick, who have the number of the Jets. Bill Belichick owns the New York Jets. You have a high-flying offense in the Miami Dolphins with Hill, with Waddle, and Mike White. And then you have the Bills, who are 2-time division champions, Bobby. I mean, is there a team that scares you? Is there a team I mean, as far as where the Jets rank in the division, I mean, there are idiots out there that are saying that the Jets are going to finish in last place. I think they know what they're doing there, and they're just pretending
I think
that they're going to finish in last. But that's a tough division, Bobby. Where do they stand right now?
I think the Jets are the second best team in the division. I think everybody and their mother and their father are sleeping on the Buffalo Bills. Yes, last year they were the team to beat, the team everybody was gunning for, and you're right, they went to a buzzsaw against the Bengals. This year, they made some pretty awesome additions. Okay, you got Damian
Damon Harris.
Damian Harris. All right, who's going to be an awesome backup running back to James Cook, who's going to be your bell cow hopefully this year. You got Sam Laporta, the tight end, who they drafted, who's going to add another element, to their offense. And you have Von Miller coming back this year. So I think Buffalo is being slept on, which I think was what they kind of want. Right? They kind of want that because I'm sorry, Kincaid, right? I'm sorry. I said Laporta. So Laporta's on Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Bills are being slept on, which is exactly what they want. I think this is their year. Hey, you might see Jets Bills in the AFC Championship game. And that's a possibility. I think the Chiefs take a step back this year a little bit. They don't have the receivers, but you can't count out our guy there, quarterback.
With who?
The Chiefs. I'm drawing a blank here.
Mahomes?
Mahomes. You can't count out Mahomes at all. I think Buffalo has a great chance of getting on there to the end. Miami, I think that coach smokes too much weed, especially during the game. You ever see him? He has a pipe. He has a vape on him. He's a genius, but I think he's an over genius. I think he tries too hard. One thing though, they picked up Jalen Ramsey, if I'm not mistaken. That's gonna help the Dolphins.
Gonna be out the first couple weeks of the year, but overall a good defensive addition. They got Chubb in the offseason or in the trade deadline.
Yeah.
They got Bradley Chubb. So you have your pass rusher. You have Jalen Ramsey on the outside, who has a couple more good years left.
And we know he loves a running back committee, and now he has, Wilson. He's got the other guy, Mozart, and now he has that rookie, a Chain, I believe his last name, who's supposed to be our speedster out there. That's going to really help. Real quick question by David Burns, who's been sticking with us. What would you all like to see this NFL season? I would like to see a Pittsburgh Giants Super Bowl, so I could be happy and both teams will be in it. But that being said, I've said this for the past 4 or 5 years. Both teams are up there. The best Super Bowl you can have right now, in my opinion, would be a Buffalo Bills versus Minnesota Vikings Super Bowl. Both teams are 0-4. Somebody has to win. Both have huge old school fan bases. I think that'll be the most entertaining game you can have right now. Buffalo versus Minnesota. One of them have to win and break the schneid. Both 0-4 in Super Bowls. That being said, as long as the Eagles aren't there, I don't care. I don't think the Cowboys are that level yet. I think the Eagles might take a step back this year. We'll see. But one thing to look for as well is, the running back position is very devalued right now. And let's see if these guys take their own jobs in their own hands and try to really do more this year on their respective offenses. Steve, what do you want to see this year in the NFL?
Well, what I'm most interested to see is the amount of quarterbacks that haven't played a snap in the NFL taking the reins on different offenses. Going in the NFC, you have Desmond Ridder for the Falcons, right? Some Atlanta Falcons fans, maybe even your family. Yeah. So you have Desmond Ridder, who sat a year last year behind Marcus Mariota, who's now all of a sudden being thrown the keys to the Falcons, which is interesting. You have Sam Howell, who was drafted last year, being thrown the keys to the Washington Redskins, now the Commanders.
Sam Howell is an interesting case because he was a really highly, real high quarterback prospect the year before he came out. Yeah, came back and at a senior year had a bad year and kind of fell. But hey, whatever traits he had were still there from 2 years ago. So we'll see.
I mean, that's like a Christian Hackenberg scenario where Hackenberg was ready to be the number 1 overall pick if he could have gone in his sophomore year. Had kind of a bad year at Penn State, went to the Jets, and then we all know how that went. So it can go 2 different ways. It's not just, he was good and now he's still going to be good. So you have Ridder, you have whoever I was talking about before. We have Riddle, you have Howell, you have all your rookie quarterbacks with C.J. Stroud, Bryce Young. Maybe we'll probably see Will Levis throughout the year in the Titans. And then also Jordan Love on the Packers, too. Let's not forget about him, who sat out 3 years. Now coming into the Packers organization with the Aaron Rodgers treatment. I haven't seen him. I mean, that's a difficult job being the quarterback for the Green Bay Packers. I mean, it's kind of been like the Pittsburgh Steelers and their head coaches, right? They've had 3 in 50 years or
60
something.
years.
Kind of like with the Green Bay Packers in the last 40 years. Haven't been too many different quarterbacks for them. So Jordan Love being thrown the reins there. So between the rookies, between Ritter and Love and how a lot of different quarterbacks are kind of being thrown into peculiar positions here. We might even see Kyle Trask for the Buccaneers. Anthony Richardson, who I'm really thrilled to see with the Colts. So
Forgetting my guy Kenny Pickett, year 2.
and Pickett year 2. I'm talking about new quarterbacks we haven't seen yet. That's a lot too. I mean, we have 4 rookies, 7 NFL. There are 32 NFL teams. 7. That's almost a quarter of the NFL teams that have a quarterback that haven't taken a snap yet. So that's going to be an interesting storyline to watch, especially with some big franchises like the Packers, like the Commanders. What's going to happen? So that's kind of what I'm looking forward to in this new wave of quarterbacks. As your Phillip Rivers, your Ben Roethlisbergers, your Brady's, they're ushering out. Now this new wave's coming in. Some of them are going to pan out. Doc Holliday?
Doc, what do you want to see this NFL season?
You know what I want to see? I want to see players live up to their big contracts. I want to see Aaron Rodgers, after the deal was done, come into the New York Jets and just take over and command live up to his contract. I want him to take the Jets to the Super Bowl. I want Daniel Jones of the New York Giants to live up to $40 million of a contract with incentives and come in back to New York. And last year, Daniel Jones went above and beyond to get that contract. He was running so much last year and trying to do so much with so little of a team. And he did pretty good. So let's see if he can live up to that $40 million. Now that he got the deal, let's see him live up to, put his money where his mouth is. So he's got the deal now. Let's see him produce. Let's see these guys live up to their big money contracts.
All right, so Doc, we do have a lot of people watching right now, so we're taking questions online. I think it's only fair that we take some questions from our in-studio audience right now. So then we're going to start taking maybe a question. You guys came here to watch us. We appreciate it. Do you guys have any questions for us? Do you guys have any questions, comments? You guys play fantasy football? We can talk fantasy too.
I'm starting my first year of fantasy.
Starting first year in fantasy.
Tomorrow.
You come behind us. You come behind us.
Yeah, come on over.
Come on, you can be on the
You
screen.
guys aren't that ugly. You can be on camera. Come on. All right. What's your name? Where are you from?
Joseph.
Joseph, where are you from?
Franklin Square.
Franklin
Yeah,
Square. We know a lot of people
Franklin
from Franklin Square. What about you?
Armando Bell.
Donovan,
Donovan, where are you from?
Long Island.
Long Island. We're from Long Island. Good town.
Island.
Atlantia. All right. It's a little far from Blue Point, but nevertheless. All right. You guys are big football fans, right? Favorite team? Niners?
No, I really haven't decided.
You haven't decided? You're waiting on who's starting out with a good record? What about you? What's your favorite team? Jets?
And you
What about you?
say,
What's your favorite team, buddy? Chiefs? That's what we call a bandwagon fan. I think they're too early. What about you?
That's when you start. That's when you start
Jets?
making
All right.
becoming
We
a
got some
fan.
Jet fans
so
here.
what's your name? Joseph. This is Joseph. That's my son's name. He's a big Cowboy fan. But Joseph here said that he's starting fantasy football tomorrow. So Joseph, if you had the first pick in the fantasy football draft, who would you pick number 1?
Who would I pick? I would pick, I think the best option would be
Justin Jefferson.
That's
You
the
heard
right
it right
answer.
here.
That's
How
the
old are
right
you?
answer.
How old are you?
11.
11 years old. And he's going Justin Jefferson. You know how many people have not even heard of Justin Jefferson? Tell us about Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, I think probably definitely the best player on the Vikings. Yeah, I think he's kind of very much helping Kirk Cousins with all of that and not trying to help, not making him feel like He's made some crazy catches, especially that one during the Bills game. Crazy clutch. Like 4th and 13. Crazy.
So you'll try to get Justin
I'm
Jefferson
gonna
first
try.
pick?
Yeah, I'm definitely
Now, you don't know what pick you have yet?
no, I don't know.
No, it's random.
Me neither. I actually don't know. I think we're doing like a whole board.
Oh, boy. All right. Well,
They're going old school.
Jefferson won. That is old school, right?
So if you had to go number 2, if you couldn't get Jefferson, who would you go number 2?
Really?
Oh.
Quarterback early. All right.
I would change that. If you're gonna go Chiefs, go with Kelsey.
Yeah, but if you have, a tight end, that's,
The key to fantasy football is to what they call double up. That means you get the quarterback and the top receiver on the same team. That way, when it goes a touchdown to your receiver, you get points on both sides.
All about the points.
All about the points.
it's a wide receiver here. So either Jefferson or Chase.
Chase.
Maybe a Christian McCaffrey. Who knows?
And here's the problem. The only problem I see with Justin Jefferson, and I think he's going to have a tremendous year, is that do you really want to put Kirk Cousins as your starting quarterback? Not really. But there's a case to be said that you can wait a long time to draft Kirk Cousins and really fortify your team before that. Because no one's going to be taking him in their top 12 quarterbacks. So that is probably a case for getting Jefferson and Kirk Cousins.
I'm waiting for Bobby to start arguing with the kids. We've seen that before.
No.
I'm waiting for him to get into a shouting match.
Don't touch my equipment. Just don't touch my camera. No,
All right. You're a Jet fan. We got 2 Jet fans here. God bless you guys. How old are you? How old are you?
How long you been
They
Jets
have-
fans?
Last season.
So you guys are, you can't say long-suffering Jet fans, but in your short time, you guys have not seen a lot of successful Jets teams, right?
Well, we had the beginning.
At the beginning, right? You start off 6-3.
They had to start somewhere.
They had to start somewhere.
Yeah,
Alright.
they had to start
So-
somewhere. Hope doesn't get injured.
So I got a question for you guys, because I'm a Jet fan too. The
Hopefully
Jets
Aaron
have the
Judge
Bills in the
doesn't-
division.
hopefully
Do you think that the
Aaron-
Jets can beat the Bills and win the division?
Maybe once.
Maybe once?
They probably got once.
You probably get 1 game off the Bills.
Don't count the Dolphins out.
Don't count the Dolphins out? No? You think 2 in that whole crew? They got
Pretty
Tyreek
sure
Hill,
the
right?
Jets are definitely going to beat the Dolphins. This isn't
With
the
the addition of Jalen
Jalen
Ramsey.
baseball thing.
Mhm.
Remember
It's
when
all baseball too.
I really hope Aaron Judge does not get into the band like in the Dodgers.
Right? I hope not.
I
Then
really
they're
got
gonna get
I
worse.
really got mad on the playoffs. Yankee versus Mets. Thank goodness the Yankees won.
All right. You're a Jet fan too, right, buddy?
I
Now-
am, but I had to start with the Chiefs.
Now, if I asked you to name your favorite Jet memory, do you think if I gave you an hour, you could come up with one? Or because my favorite Jet memory is the butt bumper, and that's a bad memory. So I have very few good memories for the Jets. You're young, you get to see the Jets
I have
win
one.
games, hopefully, right?
I got one. Yeah, me and my
Are you gonna ask for an Aaron Rodgers jersey for Christmas? There you go.
I got
Yes.
one.
Yeah, I can thank you for that. It's a $200 gift right
You
there.
heard that, Mom. Aaron Rodgers jersey for Christmas. Coming up quick.
I got
Yes,
ooh,
yes,
babies
Bologna's
for
right
Christmas.
here.
I got an actual one.
Sure, what's that?
The Jets victory against the
This season, this upcoming season?
No, the
Or
last
this?
one.
Oh, I was gonna
I
say
don't
we're
know
already
any
talking
facts
smack
about
against the
this player.
Bills.
This is
I was
just
gonna
my
say that
favorite
would have been
player
great.
That I've seen. This is my favorite player that I've seen. I don't know what he's on. I like to just know the players.
Tom Brady, you're a Brady fan? You gotta visit our goats at Little Holiday Farm. But the Jets and the Bills, that was a good game.
So
That was
let's
a tough game. They-
let's get some Super Bowl picks from you right now. We're live, All Point Sports, sponsored by Edge Remodeling, Franklin Square, Long Island. And we want to get this live right now because if it comes true, we'll go back to this tape that we made tonight, this live video. Who's your pick for the Super Bowl?
I got Bills and it's tough. I don't know.
That is gonna kill you.
You heard it. The Bills right there. He's going Mahomes with the fantasy football. If he can't get his man first, and that's the Bills. What about you?
I'm thinking Jets and Niners.
There you go.
You have a winner. Who wins that? Jets Niners. Who wins?
I'm thinking Niners.
Oh,
There you go. Our sponsor.
even
knows
as
that.
a Jet fan, he doesn't have any faith in them to pull it out.
Let him say
Yeah,
that,
that's
right?
true. We can't fill up our heads with too much ball. Super Bowl pick.
The
Chiefs.
Chiefs and the Bucks.
Chiefs going back to back. That's tough to do. In the NFL, especially going back to back.
They got the fourth AFC championship.
That's true.
AFC championship. I would go with the Chiefs, Bills. No, it's gonna be Chiefs, Jets. Yeah, Chiefs, Jets. Because of I know they proved that they could do it without Tyreek Hill, and now they might have a bad start without Chris Jones.
That's true.
I think
Without
what's gonna
Chris
happen
Jones,
in
you
the
never know
Super
how
Bowl
long that
is
holdout's gonna happen.
what the Jets are gonna get what happened to the Eagles this week. The Eagles, the Niners are definitely
Field
going
goal.
with the game winner.
I just hope you guys know as much schoolwork as you know as much about sports. I think you're going to college very, very soon. And you're wearing a Niners jersey, and our sponsor is a big Niners fan, Eddie Edge. He travels out to California to see the Niners play every year.
My friends are 49ers.
Very nice.
All right. Well, thank you guys for being on. You guys are amazing for coming on. You gotta show your girlfriends this video now, so you can show them that you were on a professional sports
I
podcast.
just have
Right?
a question. I don't have one.
What's your
Is this
question?
actually live TV?
Yeah.
Let's go to room 8.
Yeah.
Let's go to Kind of Tape.
Your parents are watching right now on Villaroma Television, channel 8.5.
There you go, right there. Wave.
I think only one parent is watching. It's my mom.
All right.
No.
Let's go Jets. Let's hope that Jets Super Bowl prediction comes true. Jets. Come on.
The Jets are
Give
definitely
it up
winning
for all
next
our-
year.
All right. Good job, guys.
Yeah.
Shout out to my guy Scotty checking in from New Mexico.
Up on the men's. That's what we'll be tonight.
We got New Mexico checking in as well.
So he's going.
Big Giant fan.
So he's a Giant fan. All right. Before we transition into the Giants, I gotta say one more thing on my Jets, Doc Holliday. Now, a head coach. Now we're in a sports landscape right now, whether it's baseball, whether it's basketball, where really a manager, a head coach can't win you a championship. Like they're cheerleaders.
They can
now.
lose you.
But they sure as hell can lose you, and especially with a bad football coach. We saw probably. I mean, the Denver Broncos were probably what the New York Jets are this year as Super Bowl favorites when they got Russell Wilson and Nathaniel Hackett, and we saw how quickly that thing spiraled out of control. And a bad head coach can really be the kiss of death for especially an NFL franchise. I mean, if there's one sport now where a professional sports coach means anything now, because let's face it, baseball doesn't mean much, basketball doesn't mean much. I mean, they're in and out, they're rotating through. Each franchise is like a Billy Martin as their head coach. They're done after 2 or 3 years. With the Jets, I'm still not sold on Robert Saleh. I don't trust him as far as I could throw him. And I think the
How
reason
far is that?
not far at all. He's a big gentleman. So he's a great cheerleader for the Jets. Sometimes I think that he likes to be like a Rex Ryan. He tries to kind of make some headlines. He definitely looks at the headlines. You listen to some of the stuff that he says to the press. He reads the headlines. He watches it. And with Robert Saleh at the head with the Jets, like I said, he's a fantastic cheerleader for them. You saw what he did with the Niners and bringing a spark. And the big thing that the Jets fans were excited about was that we had someone with fire, someone with passion on the sideline. Not really what you saw the last 2 years on the Jets sideline. Very few moments when you saw Robert Saleh kind of lose that cool-headed temperament. So even then, being that spark plug that he once was, still haven't seen that. And going into year 3, we saw him botch the clock a lot last year, especially in that Detroit Lions game where they had 3 timeouts on a drive and let the clock run out, and they had 3 timeouts at the end of that. Right? It's like he's saving timeouts for the next week. You can't have 6, Doc Holliday. You cannot have 6 timeouts in 1 week. So the fact that he was just stashing up timeouts, kind of low in every head coach metric as far as value as a head coach.
So, real quick, let me get my point about that. They make so much money in the NFL, they can hire a guy or girl for like $5,000 a week just to keep track of clock and timeouts. That's all the responsibility is. I'm surprised no one does that.
That's me. I'm available. Right
Yes,
now.
all 3 of us are
Every Sunday.
available.
I'm off on Sundays. Come on.
All we
I'll
got to
give
do
you all
is,
your stats.
you want to know how many timeouts we have. You're ready with the answer. You want to know how much the time clock. I'm surprised. I'm sure teams do this, but not everyone. And it seems to always happen to rookie quarterbacks or younger quarterbacks.
You might not even need someone to do that, Bobby. I can remember back to a college game in basketball, Chris Webber calling a timeout, and they didn't have any timeouts.
That's a technical.
That's a technical. This is big, Bobby. It's like having a 12th man on the field and getting a penalty for it. It's just not supposed to be.
Yeah.
By the way, real quick, guys, current sports topics news right now. Inter Miami are losing 2-0 to FC Cincinnati in the U.S. Open Cup semifinals with only about 30 minutes to go. Obviously, Messi has not scored yet, but Miami has not lost since Messi joined the team. And they're actually.
And we had those fans over here.
Yeah.
Miami fans with Messi, and they said, "This is the team this year." And where is he?
Yeah,
Where is he right now? But it's still early, Bobby.
Well, they got 30 minutes to go. They're approaching the 59th minute, so they have about 30 minutes. I'll keep an eye on it.
There you go. Please keep us updated on the soccer, on the Major League Soccer, because that's what drives the ratings. Soccer, right, Bobby?
Yeah, and the Yankees are up 6-0.
We
You know,
love talking soccer here. That's what it is. Big soccer heads. Upstate New York, right? You have the Tyler Hill camp. Big soccer fans there, I'm sure. But anyway, last point on the Jets. Nathaniel Hackett, offensive coordinator, how he rebounds. He obviously has a great relationship with Rodgers. He was a great coordinator with the Green Bay Packers, but how could you not be a great coordinator when you have Aaron Rodgers as your quarterback? A pitiful job as the head coach of the Denver Broncos last year. How does Hackett kind of bounce back to being just a coordinator? The defensive head coordinator, I'm not too fond of just because of how much they refuse to use Quinnen Williams in that whole rotational defense. I mean, you can only have 4 defensive linemen, 4 or 5, and they have 10. So how they're going to figure out when to use people in different situations is going to be tough. But, Robert Saleh is going to make a break this year, how he game plans. You saw with Brian Dable, as we're going to transition into the Giants, how Brian Dable in 1 year made such a big difference for the New York Giants, how he managed the clock.
Right now, and Stephen just brought it up, and that's exactly what he was talking about, the Jets coach that I was thinking of right away. Early in the season, New York Giants down 1 at the goal line, and what do? They go for 2, and they win the game. This is the difference of just settling and going for it.
Oh, yeah.
I like a young coach that's just going to go for it. Go for it.
That's being aggressive, and that's going against the analytics because all the analytics say that you go for 2 instead of going for 1 and going to overtime. And, Brian Dable obviously made his mark in year 1. Robert Saleh, the jury's still out in year 3. And when the jury's still out on you as an NFL head coach going into year 3, you're probably not that great of a head coach. Let's face it. This probably would have been his last year. They're going to have a good year this year no matter what. So the fact that Robert Saleh comes in 2 years into the Jets head coach after having a pretty good run with the San Francisco 49ers, the fact that he's probably their best cheerleader, and that's the best thing that he is, because with the clock management, as far as preparation the last 2 years, they have not been a professional NFL franchise. His record dictates it. I think he has like a 40% win percentage, and that'll get you fired after 3 years for sure. So maybe he's going to try some different things this year, especially with Aaron Rodgers. This is a brand new team. So with the Jets and the head coach, Saleh and Hackett, definitely some stuff to kind of keep an eye on here. And Doc Holliday you're a big football guy. You like the Jets, you like your Giants, right? So transition teams. Yeah, that's right. New York. So we got to transition into the NFC, and we're talking about the G-Men, the New York Giants, coming off a good year last year, surprising year last year. Can they keep their heads afloat? Can they continue to build? Or was last year kind of a fluke, and they may have had some wins that they weren't supposed to get? Do you see them rising, or do you see them falling, Doc?
I see them rising, but the only problem I see with the New York Giants is that the Philadelphia Eagles, as much as I do not like the Eagles or the Philadelphia franchise, they really did some good picks in the offseason and just building their team to make it even stronger. I'm like, oh my gosh, what a draft that Philadelphia had. So with them getting stronger in the East Division, and I don't think the Cowboys will be that good this year. And the Cardinals went down big to the Chiefs in the preseason. So preseason I don't bank on, but the East Division is very, very tough, and the Giants just have to play outstanding, outstanding. And I think they have the capabilities, Stephen J. I think that the Giant team, depending if they go 2 losses to the Eagles, I don't think they'll be there. But if they could split with the Eagles or even win 2 with the Eagles, I think they could win 13 games this year.
Well, Doc, his issue with the Eagles, and it's a positive issue, we don't face the Eagles until Christmas. So there's a lot of football that's going to be played before Christmas that'll determine the Giants' fate before they face the Eagles. Now, in a perfect world, you're facing the Eagles for the potentially division title, depending on what the Cowboys do. But like I said, there's a lot of football to be played, a lot of growth, we'll see how this new offense is going to gel before they actually have to face the Eagles.
Yeah, it seems like the Giants play good against the other division teams, but when it comes to the East, they all know each other so well. The Washington Commanders even play the Giants close. It's a tough thing, and it comes down to, with any sport, injuries. If the players stay healthy, then you can look for a good season. But if you look at that injury report for the week and see that a lot of folks are out, it'll be a tough task for any team with injuries.
So, Doc, I have a question here from my guy, Scotty. I'll pass it to you. Hold on, let me get it. What do you guys think of Tom Coughlin being snubbed for the Hall of Fame?
I mean, the Football Hall of Fame is different. It's not like the Baseball Hall of Fame. There are a lot of good players in the Pro Football Hall of Fame that don't get selected until later, especially head coaches. So obviously, we all know that Coughlin, 2 Super Bowls. You get 1, and you're a very good coach. You have 2 Super Bowls, and you're a great head coach. Obviously, his run with Eli Manning, they can forget about what he did with the Jaguars for sure. But as his run as the head coach of the New York Giants, 2 Super Bowls to show for it. He's going to get in. We know that. If Coughlin doesn't get in, then there's something completely wrong with the Pro Football Hall of Fame. But the selection process is so weird, so odd. I mean, it was only a couple years ago that Jimmy Johnson got selected, right? I mean, you saw Troy Aikman crying in the booth. So
Yeah.
It takes head coaches a little bit longer. So the whole process is just weird. If it were a player, I'd be more concerned. But just for head coaches, the Pro Football Hall of Fame doesn't do it just as justice as it should.
Here, a quick step back, though. We mentioned about the Jacksonville Jaguars and Tom Coughlin. You may be too young for this, but he brought them to the AFC Championship game in like year 2 or 3 of their existence, which was unheard of back in the 90s. So I think he does get credit for that, for doing that when he was a younger coach. Now, the argument against Tom Coughlin is that until real late in his career, when he was told to lighten up, he was not a player's coach. He was hard. He was a hard ass on the players. A lot of players didn't like him. So that's probably the reason why he's not going to be an instant Hall of Fame guy, because some of the players are going to be like, you know what? I played for the guy. He was a jerk. Until he lightened up. But he'll get there, like you said.
I think money could dictate. I mean, I was in the military 10 years, and they make you do a lot of things that you're not used to. And you're not getting paid a lot of money. But I can imagine being a football player and being told to do something. You gotta do it. You're making millions of dollars. They should pay the military millions of dollars and see how they respond. But I got a Jets fan over here and Chiefs fan as well, Bobby. Jets and Chiefs looking very good this year. What do you say, Bobby, to these fans?
Like I said, I think that now I've said all along in our previous shows, beginning of the summer, and even in conversations throughout the summer, the balance of the AFC East is gonna come down to who Dalvin Cook signed with. Okay, now he signed with the Jets. So to me now, I think that makes Jets pretty much barring injuries, a playoff contender. But I still think, even with Dalvin Cook on the team, Buffalo's still a better team in the AFC East.
I mean, the Cook signing. as
But he
much as
may
I
have
wanna
elevated
say-
them to at least second place.
The Cook signing itself is probably more gets Jet fans more excited from a headline perspective than from a football perspective. I think the big reason why they signed Dalvin Cook was just that way they didn't have to rush Brees Hall back. Obviously, coming off an ACL injury, he's going to be 100% week one, but you never want to give a guy 20, 25 carries week one, week two, coming off of an ACL injury. So they're going to work Brees Hall back to full strength, kind of get his body right. And then basically once that second half of the year comes, they're going to let Brees loose like he was last year. So Dalvin Cook isn't going to be, the same Dalvin Cook from 2016, 17, 18, 19. He's not going to be that bell cow back for sure. He'll be more of a situational, rotational guy, probably on passing downs, definitely. Dalvin Cook isn't going to be someone that you're drafting in the first 8 rounds of your fantasy football draft.
Yeah, well, you know what? Maybe we'll do next week, guys. If you don't mind, maybe next week we'll do a fantasy football show. It's different to talk fantasy and reality. By the way, Messi on the assist, 2-1.
2-1.
Messi on the assist on the
Messi not delivering, and right away on the assist.
Penalty kick.
Cut the lead in half on a penalty kick.
Not the side kick.
We don't talk soccer here. No one likes soccer. No one cares about it.
Fan my whole life. 44 years old. I'm not going to say they were all away, but I think the excitement's definitely there.
We have high hopes with Aaron Rodgers.
And this is not Brett Favre, I'll tell you that.
Not
It's
right.
a lot different.
No.
Yeah, but Brett Favre was good for you guys those first 10
Yeah, but
games.
the team around them, I think, is a lot better this time. The defense is a lot better this time.
The defense is interesting.
He's a little too
because
friendly with the reporter, Brett Favre, but that's another story.
when you have such a good defense like the Jets did, it's only natural that they take a step back. But, the fact that the Jets defense was so good last year and the amount of time that they spent on the field, if there's 60 minutes in a football game, their defense is probably on the field for 55 minutes, just between all the punting and the 3-and-outs and the turnovers that the Jets had to deal with. The fact that they were so good and the Jets defense was probably on the field for probably top 5 most in the NFL. And the fact that they played that well definitely says something to how good they are, how well coached they are, how strong they are. Sauce Gardner is only getting better. They have pass rushers to burn. Really, they have 10 guys that they can pass rush you with. So Salah's going to send the blitz a lot with their pressure. They have the best cornerback tandem in the league. In the league. So pair that with some veterans like C.J. Mosley in the middle. Obviously losing Chuck Clark, the safety, not too big of a deal, but that Jet defense in its second year, pretty much the same players coming back. It's only going to get better. And
My guy Scotty agrees
sure.
with you as far as the coaching is going to be, make it tough for the Jets. You're not a big fan of the coaching of the
Say
Jets.
Garrett Wilson had 1,000 yards as a rookie with no quarterback. Now what is he going to have?
There you go. With no quarterback, Garrett Wilson 1,000 yards with no quarterback.
Oh yeah, with what Rodgers has done with Devontae Adams and Jordy Nelson, Garrett Wilson's in for a big year, and
And he's not the only guy out there. He's going to have other guys.
he's not the only guy.
By the way,
out
you know what's going to be fascinating? I used to DJ in Morristown. Back in the day, I used to run into a lot of Jet players. They'd come to the bar I was DJing at. I am fascinated to see because Aaron Rodgers and Zach Wilson, they want the, they're going for the same prospect out there in the bars. They both like them older, so that should be interesting to see.
Anyway, so the Jets, the biggest thing that scares me off the field, or as far as not the 11 guys on the field, 11 defense, 11 offense, the head coaching. Jury's still out on Saleh. Again, botched a few games last year. Sometimes they got to stay away from the rotational defensive line philosophy and just have your 4 best guys out there.
Well,
They haven't done that.
Tell us this, Stephen J. And this is a Jets loss, but he talks about the strong defense, and they proved they had the strong defense when they went to New England in a inclement weather game. And what was the final score of that game, Stephen J? Like 6-3?
That was 10-3.
10-3.
Unfortunately, we watched every minute of that Jets-Patriots game because the Jets have not beaten the Patriots in, I want to say,
Oh, wow.
5 years, 6 years. They have not beaten.
And
They
they
haven't beaten the
choked.
Patriots, I think, since 2015. And
13 times in a row. They should finish their
13
football
times in
10
a row.
years
There
old.
it is. I think the last time they beat them, I think it was 2015 on the walk-off with Fitzpatrick. Maybe that would make sense if it was that many years ago. But as far as grueling Jets-Patriots game that I still see in my nightmares sometime. 3-3, Wilson turning the ball over. They had plenty of opportunities. And what really was we were ready to go to overtime. The offense was not moving. That was probably Zach Wilson's worst game as a Jet, that Patriot game. It was in the wind. He had multiple turnovers that game, but at that end, that ended in a walk-off punt return. In true Belichick fashion. I mean, there's been so many ways that Belichick has humiliated us. That way, in a punt return, walk-off, when we were all ready for overtime, just hoping that the game would go 3-3, which was a gift game anyway. I mean, Nick Folk missed 2 or 3 field goals. We should have never been in that game to begin with. But as always, Belichick finds a way to embarrass the Jets. He's had a personal vendetta against them for quite some time. We don't know why. He owns us. He will forever be the Jets' father, but that could change this year.
To the headsets and steal Jets plays. Wasn't this something that the Patriots were very famous for?
That's right, the Patriot Act. Basically, when they were stealing all the Jets info, they were breaking into. They had spies. They had cameras there. They had all the time in New England. Headsets go out. It's very sketchy stuff. What happens? Belichick doesn't get the benefit of the doubt.
It's tough. I've seen plenty of them. Trust me.
I think the one game you have to really mark your calendars.
Jet fans since I'm
And you can't beat the Patriots just once this year. You want to show that this is your division now. You got to beat them twice. You got to beat the Patriots in Foxborough, which you haven't done basically since the playoffs. I think they have not beaten the Patriots in Foxborough for a while.
Dolphins in serious talks. Trade for Jonathan Taylor.
That would be kind of. I mean, that's what they need. I think the Dolphins were the lowest running team in the NFL last year, just because of the committee that they had. Everyone's getting hurt between Wilson and Mostert. That would be a very well-rounded offense. They have no picks, so I don't know what they'd give them. But Tua with Jonathan Taylor and Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, I think it's safe to say that the Jets are the number 2 team in that division. I'd say the Dolphins are probably the number 3. Even though they made a couple of defensive strides, defense still scares me. Even though they did have Vic Fangio coming in.
Problem with the Dolphins is Tua. He can play great one day, and then if he gets banged up, his career is done.
Baby.
His
Mike
career,
White, baby.
he is one shot from his career ending. And that's like just Scott said there.
So if they get Jonathan Taylor, I think that would definitely bring them in the conversation back with the Jets.
Yeah, but they got to be
maybe
good running backs. Why do you need Taylor for? Unless you're going to send one guy back.
Taylor is much better.
Oh, I know. I understand that, but I don't think he's a difference maker like Dalvin Cook is. He's banged up too.
Eagles too, they say.
Oh boy.
The bottom line is that Cook is not the difference maker that Taylor is. Taylor 2 years ago was probably donned as the best running back
Yeah,
in the
but
league.
Cook's been consistent.
Not named.
He has 4 consistent years of over 1,000-something yards rushing and touchdowns, and staying mostly healthy.
With the right
Jonathan Taylor is hurt right now.
With the
You
right
have to
offensive
remember.
line, you put a Taylor in Miami without the right line, not going to make it.
Obviously, that would take a lot of pressure off of Tua, and that's what the Dolphins need.
And real quick, let's get back
Coming from
to the
9-7
Giants.
run.
But before we mention back to the Giants, if you're a Jet fan, and we're going to flip the script a little bit here as far as revenge games, that game against the Broncos is going to be must-see TV after what Sean Payton said about Hackett. And you know they have that game marked in the calendar. So that's going to be – I think that's going to be must-see TV, that game, because I think Jets will get some revenge there. I might even smack a player or two in the mouth.
That's Yep, that's the bulletin board game. What Peyton said about Hackett, none of it is wrong.
But you don't say it, though.
You don't
That's
part of the coaches
fraternity, coaches code.
fraternity, the unwritten rules. But everything that Peyton said wasn't wrong. I think Hackett deserved all that criticism that Sean Payton, who had to come in and clean it up. Now, if this was another coach outside the organization saying that, that's one thing. But if you're Sean Payton and you had to go in there and you had to clean up the mess that Hackett left, I think that does show you a little bit about the state of disarray that this Denver Broncos team was in.
And
But
still
with
is. Sean Payton, Russell Wilson has not looked great so far. If you don't change Russell Wilson's game around, you could be gone too, you know.
Well, I mean, let's face it. I mean, Sean Payton right now is in the position with what the New Orleans, coming off out of New Orleans. Sean Payton right now is basically in the same position that Andy Reid was in when he left Philly and he went to Kansas City. He didn't have a quarterback. Things kind of died off, and they had to make the change. There have been a couple bad years for two premier organizations, right? The Saints and the Eagles. They had to make a change. They were forced to, even though that's Peyton stepped down. I think that was part of the Saints' decision as well. They just wanted to split amicably. So with Peyton and Reid, they both find themselves in similar positions now where they got the quarterback. They have a fresh new start. They get to build the team around what they have. They have the final say over the roster. It's going to be a little bit more tough for the Broncos, who did sell off some pieces last year at the deadline. So now having to kind of retool, get back into win now mode. I would say year 2 with the Broncos just because they have no picks, right? Peyton's going to have to work his magic against this team. He's definitely one of the lesser talented teams that he's had with the Broncos. But, I mean, let's not forget that Sean Payton's probably a top 5 head coach in the NFL. So.
And we have about 10 minutes to go, guys. I know we have stuff. Well, you guys know. I do. Oh, yeah, bingo tonight. But Giants, Doc, what are your thoughts on the Giants right now? What are your feelings towards the season and how they're going to perform?
The pressure's on Daniel Jones. You got the big contract. Where does the running back contract stand right now with Barkley? There's questions about the Giants, but they definitely did make some moves to build up around Jones. And it's up in the air. These games, even when they went to the Super Bowl the last time, you know how many one-run ball games, you know how many games that they came from behind to win just by a couple? They were in those games. So I say the Giants are good enough to stay in the games. And if things go their way, they could be right there, Bobby. I don't see 13 or 12 wins, but I see East Division could win with 9 or 10 games.
Now, with the Giants, they have a lot of advantages, being that you look around the league, just as far as the head coach, because you talked about the head coach of Brian Daboll. The positives for the Giants, you have the Dallas Cowboys who turned play calling over to Mike McCarthy. They lost Kellen Moore. I feel like Kellen Moore had to be the scapegoat, right? The way that they lost. They had to get Moore out.
He's going to do gangbusters in San Diego, by the way. LA.
And with, Mike McCarthy is the head coach calling plays. The offense is definitely going to take a step back. Losing Zeke is actually a positive. Totally Pollard is the every down back. It's going to be great for the Cowboys. You bring in Brandon Cooks. They lost Schultz, but overall, that offense is going to take a step back just because Mike McCarthy is not a play caller. He's a head coach who's a guy who can have 2 coordinators run the show, and he can just be the game planner and set the tone in the room. They have a great defensive coordinator for the Giants, but that change in offense, especially with Dak Prescott's up and downs, now going into a Mike McCarthy offense, very worrisome if you're the Giants, if you're the Cowboys. For the Eagles, obviously the Eagles, now the NFC East hasn't had a repeat winner in 20 years, 22 years, something like that. The Eagles are obviously the favorite. They're probably the favorite in the last 22 years to repeat. They lost 2 coordinators. One went to the Colts, and then one went to the Cardinals. Losing both coordinators on each offensive side. Now, obviously, the Eagles head coach, it is his offense, but even so, having an offensive coordinator, learn that system, kind of learn how to work with Jalen Hurts and that whole insane offense, that's going to be a learning curve. The defense, a new defensive coordinator, what kind of defense are they going to run? That's another question you have to ask. So, yeah, a lot of coaching changes. Now, Ron Rivera, that is what it is. Eric Bieniemy coming over to the Redskins, that's actually a positive for the Redskins. But Eagles losing 2 coordinators, Cowboys turning over to Mike McCarthy, those are the plus. And then you look at the Giants. They have Wink Martindale, who's in his second year, who runs a blitz-happy defense, and is probably one of the best defensive coordinators in the league with Wink Martindale. On the offensive side, you have Dable and you have Kafka coming back for year 2. The consistency is there for the Giants as far as with the other teams in their division. Everyone has some turnovers at least one coordinator position. Now, it all happens what goes on the field. The Giants, out of the 4 teams in the division, probably have the 4th most talented roster. But they made their additions, and
What?
like you said, they definitely have the 4th most talented
Commanders
roster.
have more talent than Giants do?
Oh, definitely.
Oh,
on
no
the
way.
offensive side,
No
on the
way.
defensive side, the best pieces overall, I think so. Now, quarterback is
No
really the big
way.
difference. But the Giants have the fourth most talented roster, and they made some changes, right? They got Waller, they got the Colts linebacker, they had the great draft, the Giants, and like Doc said, I'm only emphasizing this point because Doc hit the nail on the head. Brian Daboll.
Wait, whoa. Time out.
He showed that he
Time
can
out.
games.
Let's go.
Like
Let's
Mike
go.
Vrabel,
Let's go position by position.
Like a Bill
Commanders.
Belichick.
Hold on.
he kept them in games.
Let's go
They
position
won-
by position.
They won a lot of games they weren't supposed to. And Brian Daboll showed himself to be a great head coach in year one. With the lack of talent that he had, that was an excellent job. Now, Brian Daboll can either be two things as the NFL head coach of the year. You can either be the Sean McVay who takes your team to the Super Bowl the next year, or you could be the Matt Nagy who misses the playoffs the year after. And so being the NFL coach of the year has its own.
Hold on.
They have consistency at the coordinator position, and the Giants only got better this year. They got Waller, they got the Colts linebacker. They had a great draft, like I said. I think the Giants, they have the biggest ceiling and the biggest floor. They could be a 7-win team. They could be a 13-win team. I don't think it's the Cowboys that are going to contend. I'm a Jet fan, and I do not like the Giants. I do not like the Giants fans. I'm saying this right now, that the Giants, it wouldn't surprise me if they did take over as the division winner this year for the Eagles. I think that Daboll's that good of a head coach. They have the right guy. They're building the right pieces. If you're a Giant fan, this is going to be a year two, especially in football. Year two is a big year that you take, that big leap, especially in the same system. So Giants fans have a lot to be excited about with Daniel Jones. This is their last year before Barkley, so you know they're going to give the ball to Barkley every opportunity they get because he's not going to be on the team next year. So Brian Daboll and company have a very, very well head coach Giants team, where you can't say that about two other teams in the division. So the Giants are looking sneaky good right now, especially as possible. Maybe you throw down a future to win the division, Doc.
I mean, I say they could go to the Super Bowl as the wild card this year.
And hold on, we got a comment by Vin Greco. If Waller and Barkley stay healthy, 10 wins for the Giants.
And I think so. I mean, they had guys who probably were mopping floors at the night, catching passes at receiver and tight end. They probably had people that are handing out towels, run the ball, and protect the offensive line. They drafted a great center, John Michael Smith, great out of college at least. They made a couple of changes on the offensive line. They have to protect Jones. You have to protect Barkley, right? That's the big thing going into the year. And they got the speedster Hyatt. You have Shepard and Slayton coming back off of injury. Waller, who's probably a top 5 tight end in the league. Darren Waller is an amazing tight end. And then just the defense with the scheme and with Wink Martindale, this Giants team is ready to soar. I don't think it's next year. I think this is the year that they can make a big jump. I don't know why I'm talking so good about the Giants fans right now.
You're not talking. You just said the Commanders have a better roster than the Giants.
That is true. I did say that.
Let's go offense only, real quick. Better quarterback, Daniel Jones. Better running back, Saquon Barkley. Better tight end, Waller. Better receiver, McLaurin.
Skipped over the wide receiver.
I don't know. I didn't get there yet. McLaurin is better. We had one of the top 3.
I take the linebackers.
No. I'm talking about the offense. We have the best, one of the best left tackles in the game, in Andrew Thomas. Okay, the only position you're better is.
Who's playing left guard for the Commanders right now?
I don't know.
You don't know. Who's center for the Commanders?
But just by quarterback and running back and tight end, we have the better offensive roster.
The Giants right now.
You said Commanders were better than them. Besides from McLaurin, that's it.
I think with the head coach, Ron Rivera, they need an adult in the room just because of what's been going on outside of the organization with the Commanders.
Well, they have a new owner now, so
all
I
the
mean.
craziness. They just needed someone who could weather that storm, especially after the Gruden years. So, Redskins are obviously going to be 4th. As talented as the Dallas Cowboys roster is, because they made a great addition at wide receiver with the Cowboys. Brandon Cooks coming over from the Texans.
Brandon Cooks is going to be huge.
They got Stephon Gilmore from the Colts, who's a very good cornerback. He's not, the shutdown defensive player of the year like he once was with the Patriots, but he's still very good. You obviously have Micah Parsons on the defense. You have Trayvon Diggs, who's so hit or miss. The offensive line was much better than what it was just before. I mean, they were so injury-prone last year. The offensive line had some stability with Tony Pollard. This is going to be an exciting division. The Giants are going to be in every game. Mike McCarthy can lose the Cowboys some games, and Brian Daboll can definitely win the Giants some games that there should be in. There were in a lot of games last year that they shouldn't have been in and that they won. Nevertheless, So
Here's
put
your all you
Daboll
need to know about Brian Dable.
with Vrabel and Belichick. Put them in those teams where they're always going to be in every game. Yeah,
Here's what you know about Brian Dable. Rob Gronkowski is willing to come out of retirement to play for Brian Dable. Of all the coaches in the NFL, all teams, he's willing to come out for Brian Dable. That speaks volumes. There's a guy who probably has one good year left in him, but smartly left because obviously his injuries and other stuff. But and Vin Greco has a great point here. I think Isaiah Hodgins is a huge sleeper for the Giants at the receiver. He had 3 great games at the end when he was activated, and Jalen Hyatt is going to be, I think, a star in the making for the receivers on the Giants. Like you said, the defense is going to be solid with the linebacker from the Colts and whatnot. I like their D-back they drafted as well, Banks.
Deontay Banks.
He's going to be really good.
Could possibly be asked to be their number 1 cornerback from day one. I mean, Adoree Jackson plays out in the slot, but Banks could be their number 1 corner, so that's going to be a tough task for them. They have a very good offense. They have a very good pass rush, right? They
Yes.
have Thibodeau.
No depth yet. But I think it might be.
But just starting 4.
Let's see how the waiver wire next couple weeks produces. I think you're one piece away as far as depth, as far as the rush to be. You got
Thibodeau, Dexter Lawrence, who showed out last year. Ojulari, and then Leonard
Dexter
Williams.
Lawrence is underrated superstar in the team. He got his contract. Williams from the Jets. You know, I think he's like Barkley. He's gonna show out this year, and he's gone next year. You can't afford him anymore.
Greco, he's from Lancaster, Pennsylvania, home of Zook's famous pot pies, and he knows a lot about sports. A big Ranger fan, Vin Greco, and he knows his sports. And I can tell you that he knows his Giants too. We root for the Giants, no matter who they're playing. We're big fans, and we're rooting for the Giants this year. We're going to win the division. I'll predict it right now.
Doc Holliday making the prediction. Some hot takes. I mean, he mentioned Hyatt and Hodgins. What's weird about the Giants is the wide receivers. They don't have that true number 1. They have a lot of different guys. Sterling Shepard, when he's on the field, he's Daniel Jones' favorite target. He gets 10 to 12 targets a game when Shepard's on the field. Now, Shepard can't stay healthy. That's the only thing. Darius Slayton, same story.
Slayton again. He's had the experience, but he has the dropsy sometimes.
They have a lot of number 2 and 3 wide receivers.
I think Shepard gets traded
It's possible.
for a backup lineman or defensive lineman. They need some depth there.
And I know a team that could take him with the New York Jets. And
Especially now.
The curveball that they were throwing with Corey Davis. Now, granted, Corey Davis is only good for 7 or 8 games a year. He gets hurt a lot, drops a lot of passes, but still a veteran wide receiver that who Aaron Rodgers obviously prefers over the young guys. Ever seeing who he brought in with Lazard and Cobb. But when the Jets are throwing a curveball, it makes the Dalvin Cook signing look a little bit better, that they just have another piece on that offense. But you have Lazard opposite to Garrett Wilson, who is also extremely injury prone, along with Mecole Hardman, who's also injury prone. Even though Hardman did play 16 games last year. So who's going to stay healthy for the Jets? And their wide receiver corps got a little bit thinner. And you saw Aaron Rodgers, who the help is good because he's 40 years old. He can't do it all by himself with the team that he had last year and the wide receivers that he was throwing to. He needs a little bit of help. He's got Wilson. He's got a good tight end group. But definitely losing Corey Davis hurts. So maybe we got to give a call to Sterling Shepard.
Yeah, I can see that. Again, big Greco, big G-Man fan, big Ranger fan, but he does wish the Jets well. Big fan of Joe Namath. And here's a name from the past there, Doc, checking in. Christopher Saida checking in from Orlando.
Just to see DJ.
Miss you guys.
Right.
Big Mets fan. Long Island Ducks
He
fan.
misses Stephen J. I'll give him the
Bless
rest
your
Stephen J.
Well, he knows Matt very well. We've met a couple
Hey,
times.
Chris, what's up?
Thanks for tuning in, Chris. We appreciate it. He's down in Florida. There's some good football teams down
By
there.
the way,
in Florida.
Scotty makes a good point real quick. Very underrated signing, Doc. Cole Beasley, who obviously knows the offense for the Buffalo Bills. And I think if he makes his team, it could be a little sneaky fourth option that no one's going to cover. Oh, come on. You take Cole Beasley in a second on your team.
Cole Beasley might make the roster, probably just because he has the Brian Dable knowledge. But they have a lot of wide receivers where
That's why we'll give you Shepard.
he would be he would be buried in the depth chart where he probably wouldn't do much. Cole Beasley. He retired last year.
And real quick, I know we're on a time thing here. I'll do a more in-depth Steelers preview soon on the network and whatnot, on my own stuff. But
They'll be a 500 team.
now Steelers are going to be
They'll keep their streak.
Steelers are going to be a
But-
very underrated team. The defense is solid. The offense is solid. If Kenny Pickett takes the next step, watch out. That's all I got to say.
If we're talking about the AFC North right now, we're kind of talking about Super Bowl sleepers. Listen, I'm not the biggest Lamar Jackson fan,
Either am I. But
but they
He's-
brought in Todd Monken, who is an actual offensive coordinator, after getting rid of their offensive coordinator for like the past 10 years, who just ran a run-heavy offense. I definitely think that a team to keep your eye on is the Baltimore Ravens. With Jackson, who got paid, they finally put some help around him at the wide receiver position. Mark Andrews is coming back. The defense is probably one of the more talented defenses in the NFL. They have a great head coach. So overall, one of the best rosters and coordinator groups in the league. I think that after making the playoffs with who was even the Ravens quarterback? It was Tyler Huntley, right?
Yeah.
I think the Ravens are being slept on with the Steelers, with the Bengals. That's a Super Bowl sleeper from Stephen J. with the Ravens, who I think could definitely make a push in the AFC.
I think Lamar Jackson, as a runner, the league has caught up to him. But he has said, with the weapons he has now, Zay Flowers, Odell Beckham, of course, you got Mark Andrews at the tight end. He says he wants to pass for 6,000 yards. So maybe the passing Lamar Jackson is going to blossom this year, because everybody else is pretty much caught up to the running Lamar Jackson.
I think it's because with Lamar Jackson, he's going to throw it because he's tired of getting hit. He's tired of getting hit.
By the way,
getting hit in the legs.
This question's for Stephen J. from Chris. Have you guys watched the Hard Knocks Jets? You're a fan. Are you watched?
Do we have any free time to watch Hard Knocks up here, Doc? What do you think?
You know, I can't even remember the last time I watched a movie or even a television
We're
show
busy these
or
days.
even TV.
I see snippets of the Jets Hard Knocks.
I'm gonna catch up after Labor Day. I'm gonna catch up after Labor Day a little bit.
The Jets didn't want to do Hard Knocks. They were basically put a gun to their head and said that they had to do it. So, they were forced by the league. No one wanted to. Obviously, the NFL wanted to with the Aaron Rodgers drama. Seeing Hard Knocks with Rex Ryan was very fun, and seeing it with Aaron Rodgers especially is even more fun. So,
Guys, let's do this.
But they're getting a lot of heat for it. What do you want them to do? I mean, like I said, gun to their head. They were held hostage to do Hard Knocks. They're putting up. It's all for television. They're going to try and make a story out of nothing. I doubt that Salah's actually doing stuff to entertain the masses. Get it, Bobby?
I'd say let's end here. I see next week we do a fantasy football preview, and then the following Wednesday, right? We'll get back to more of a part 2 of the NFL preview for the rest of the league, where we haven't touched on many of the teams yet.
Oh yeah, we're talking Jets. We're talking Giants.
Giants, so
It's
let's
gonna be a bright
which is
season.
imperative. But I think
we talked San Diego Chargers. That's my team out west to excel this year.
They get a new head coach.
they got a new coordinator.
And a new coordinator.
That
Once
head
they get
coach,
rid-
that head coach
once they
is
get rid of that head coach. Oh, the Doc Holliday. Let's face it, Doc Holliday and his NFL picks. That's like, you couldn't.
Well, I gotta reach out
it's
to,
like gin and tonic. Doc Holliday is in his bag when he's betting NFL. So
Good night,
anything that
Scotty.
Doc Holliday says, you put your money on it.
Good night, Scotty. Good night, Vin. We had good night, Christopher. He checked in. Of course, we had
Yeah, thank you, Vin Greco, to our Dallas Cowboy fan watching Get Out.
David Burns,
David Burns,
our guest
our
here.
apprentice.
We'll be
guest.
back next Wednesday for our fantasy football preview, and the following week, day before the season starts. And I'm predicting a Detroit win over KC, by the way. We'll do an NFC preview for the rest of the league.
Joseph wearing the uniform of our sponsor, Eddie Edge. His team is the San Francisco 49ers. Visit Edge Remodeling, Franklin Square, Long Island, for all your house needs. You need a new house. You need a remodeled house. You need a little pergola or a gazebo in the backyard. You need a bocce court. Come on.
I
Eddie
need a
Edge.
little DJ booth up here on the mezzanine. Can you do that?
What do you think, Joseph? Who's going to the Super Bowl this year, Joseph?
Oh my God, I think Messi did it.
Or Eagles.
because there are some contenders, and either I think the top 3 teams in the AFC, either one of them can make it. Bengals, Chiefs, or Bills, either one.
Those are good picks right there.
Very good picks. That's a fantasy football player
You got a
right
lot
there.
of money on the NFL? It looks like someone probably throws down a cool penny on the parlays, right? No? I think it's bad. I like that. All right. Niners, so the Eagles, the Bills.
And then for the AFC, it's either it can't be anybody other than the Bengals, Bills, or Chiefs.
And before we sign off, guys,
You forgot to say the Jets, my man.
before we sign off, guys,
No? Oh,
Disappointing that.
oh.
another assist by Messi to tie the match up, and
No one cares about
1 minute to
soccer.
go in extra
The
time.
day I watch
Go
soccer,
Messi,
the day I
baby.
die.
We'll be back next week.
No one
On
cares
behalf of
about
Stephen
soccer.
J, Doc Holliday, I'll be here DJing in about an hour or so. I got to hurry up here. We'll be back next week. All Point Sports live from the Mez at Villa Roma.
Yeah.
Buonanotte.
Buonanotte.